Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stewart. My guest today is Jen Drahan. Jen, thank you for being our guest.
Bridget, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love what you're doing with this podcast, and I'm so
Well,
excited to be
thank you.
here.
And I'm excited to have you here because we are going to jump straight into a topic that is so important to both of us, and that is the law. It's the law that happens whether we like it or not. What you focus on expands. And you and I have
Absolutely.
talked about this, and that principle, that law, has really been meaningful to you, and it has impacted you in so many ways. Could you share with everyone, what does that law mean to you?
That law means to me that it may not necessarily be changing your entire life to make something happen, but you take one thing and you keep it at the forefront of your mind, and you work that into every conversation you possibly can. And it worked for me as a small child when I wanted to ride horses, and no one in my family rode horses, and that's all I would talk about. And they would actually tell me that I had to go through the entire dinner without bringing up horses, and I would still find a way.
Yes.
And now in real estate, our team, something I'm really focused on inside the Drahan-Keiser team is working on building our agent to agent referral business.
Yes.
And I would love to say that I've implemented all of these systems and I'm doing all of these things to make that happen. But really, what I've done is pay attention to Phil Jones and use some of his language that I'm working on in my everyday conversations with clients and other agents to produce what Matthew McConaughey would say green lights, to produce more green lights in
Yes.
life.
Yes. That's awesome.
And it's
And
it's
h-
working.
and and your focus on building those relationships with the other agents, it allows you to stay on task with what is actually a priority and what is actually going to impact your business. So I want to jump back though to, and I'm sure people would love to hear more about this. So you would talk so much about horses that your family was like, Jen, or do they call you Jennifer? Jennifer,
Jennifer.
this will be an equine free dinner. Like, so
Yes.
and then you'd still figure out a way to work it in.
Yes. You cannot talk about horses with everybody. Not everybody in the world wants to hear about you and horses. And this was before I ever rode horses.
Hmm.
I think I actually lessened up once I was allowed to engage in equestrian sport. But that was just me manifesting I will have horses in my life so badly
And
as
you
a
do.
small child.
And you did.
And
And
I do. And it's a
it worked.
lifetime
What was
relationship.
that tipping point with, I'm guessing, your parents? What was the tipping point where they finally realized that that wasn't a passing fancy, that this was serious? And what was that first step that they did with you where you connected with a real horse?
There were little moments here and there, Girl Scouts, some kind
Hmm.
of school trip. My dad made a deal with me, I think I was probably about 5 years old, that if I saved up my money and bought a horse, he would pay to keep it. So, yeah. So I started saving all of my allowance money, Christmas money, birthday money. I think I had close to $500 saved by the time I was 10. And he finally, after he had been golfing one day, asked me if I wanted horseback riding lessons. So of course I was like,
Great.
yes, yes, yes. And I got two per month. I got one every other Saturday.
Hmm.
And it just all mushroomed from there.
Can you give everyone just a brief overview, like what occurred and what you've done with horses since then and are still doing, especially in real estate with horse properties?
Yes. So my first trainer was a lady I love to this day. I'm so grateful for her. And it was a rundown riding facility in the middle of the desert, flanked on both sides by junkyards where cars go to die and be scrapped for parts. And um, I went from 2 lessons per month to having my first horse to being asked to ride other people's horses to being on the equestrian team at Texas A&M to becoming a professional before I graduated with a full-blown business and traveling to all of the statewide Texas shows and to going on just competing at the top levels of the hunter jumper world,
Mhm.
traveling the world to look for horses to buy for clients. I recently had an opportunity to support a friend of mine competing in a very big, prestigious hunter horse challenge in the Netherlands, and it changed my life. Horses have shaped my life and my world.
Right.
And so in 2012, I was in between having my own business. I had had a private riding job for a family, which means I only rode their horses and worked
Right.
exclusively for them. And I was at a crossroads deciding what my next step would be. And I already had my real estate license because that's something I've always been very interested in. So I decided to activate it and join Keller Williams. And I sent letters and emails out to everyone I could think of,
Mhm.
updating them about my life change. Kind of like when you get those Christmas or New Year's letters from your friends who
Yes.
have families now, and it's like their whole
Yes.
annual update. I sent one of those in August and just completely changed. And I leveraged my horse connections because so many people come to Wellington, Florida in the winter for the disciplines of show jumping, dressage, and polo. Show
Mhm.
jumping is really my main wheelhouse. And I leaned into all of those contacts and asked if I could help them with their rentals because I felt like rentals would be a really easy way to, how naive, rentals will be an easy way, so
Anyone
easy and
who's
labor
listening that's
free.
in real estate right now is chuckling or shaking their head. People in other industries are like, "Yeah, that sounds like it's a great idea."
Hey, it's so logical to someone
Yes.
not doing it.
Yes, yes.
But it is a much lower price point, obviously,
Mhm.
and with the rentals, it's a quick commission check. So, you know, they like a responsible broker who's signing you up as a new agent will tell you that you need to have 6 months to a year of savings to support
Yes.
yourself as you start. And my broker did tell me that, and I was very fortunate that I was getting checks within 3 months of starting because I
Good.
went right into the
I
rentals.
do think I mean, we're all kidding aside, it was a really strategic move and a strong move, especially for your market. So, yes, it was. Good.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's the kind of how the horse story brought me to where I am now.
where you are today. So just and the thing that strikes me, you and I have one similarity. I also annoyed my family when I was young. I annoyed them by wanting to play realtor, and I was the
Mm.
4th out of 5 kids, so there were a lot of people in the house, but I would want to show them the house and walk them around, and my mother had given me, like, an old purse that, I was using as, like, my briefcase, and it did reach the point where my family too was, "No, we're not playing real estate, and no, I don't wanna play Clue or Monopoly or Scrabble."
Monopoly.
Right?
Yeah,
That's how I tormented my family. Siblings, feel free to drop in the comments and verify that all of that is true. But I wanna jump now to this what you focus on expands, and how I mentioned at the beginning that that is a law similar to the law of gravity, where it is at work, whether you believe in it or not. It is at work in your life, whether you feel it or not, whether you think it is nonsense or not. And why I bring that up, that specifically, is it could be working in negative ways. If you focus on what you don't want, guess what you usually get more of,
yes, more
right?
of what you don't want.
So
Yep.
and you may not have this, you might not, have this top of mind. Can you think of a time where you caught yourself, where you were like, oh, wait a minute, I keep focusing and speaking about things I don't want and it keeps occurring? Have you ever seen it where it's working in a negative manner for you?
Definitely. Definitely. And personally and professionally. Personally, having some challenges with a friend and things that you don't want to happen keep happening and you keep having conversations about it and it gets worse. And I think we've all experienced that, whether it's,
Yes.
breaking up with a boyfriend in junior high or high school, the way that can go south, or maybe it's a teacher that you really don't like and you keep focusing on
Mm,
all the things you don't like about them instead
yes.
of just try to get into the subject matter or um yeah, I mean, I've had that in multiple parts of my life. Being part of a team at a barn and maybe you don't agree with how the other people in the barn are doing things, but it's not
Right.
really your place to change it and it's all you can think
Right.
about, you know?
Yes. And then that focus, like you said, it takes over and it turns into almost all you can see.
Yeah.
And it will create a shadow over top of things that are good, especially in that relationship realm. I've found that it also happens very often with self criticism.
Mm,
So, if I have some things that I'm working on resolving right now, which I call them long term loose ends. So, a couple of them are like tax things from during COVID. And instead of focusing on the next step of resolution, I focus on, I don't want to do that. It's going to take too long. I didn't understand section 13A, and I found myself dragging it out. And I realized, wait a minute, you're focusing on the process and that you're not capable and it's hard and it'll take too long. And guess what? Dragged it out longer. Had to make another payment to the attorney that's helping me with it, right? And
yes.
I stopped myself. And it's funny, it was one of those in the shower moments, which I'm sure all of us get those, right? I was in the shower and I was like, oh my God, I need to switch my focus to this is easy. I can do this and it's going to be resolved quickly. And I'm happy to report I started saying that every day. I put it in my calendar. I put it in my favorite color, and I started focusing on resolution, right? And the resistance, is it 100% gone? No. Am I still annoyed? Yes. However, I'm in action and it's getting resolved, right? So that's one of the places where I feel like all of us think about, is that showing up in your life? Do you say something repetitive about yourself that's negative?
Definitely.
You're putting focus on,
Of course.
but I love when people answer something that rhetorical. The you're putting focus on that. I'll give you one other example. I can't lose weight. I'm fat. I can't. If you keep thinking that, guess what?
You can't.
You're right. Yeah, Henry Ford would say, "Well, the vote's unanimous." So think about this if you're listening. If this is a new concept for you, I would encourage you to think what you focus on expands. So focus on the desired outcome and avoid focusing on the negative. And I know, Jen, people tell me I'm a Pollyanna, and when I say things like that, they continue to believe that I am a Pollyanna. But this is just the nature of how our brains work.
I know. I know. I'm writing myself a little note because I love that you call the long-term loose ends
Yeah.
and definitely focusing on the desired outcome and not the negative. And it's easier said than done. And I've absolutely felt energy shifts when I've been able to
Yes.
turn my own
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
So I know it's real. It's not this, what do we say, like, airy fairy woo woo.
Right.
There's a real thing around energy and frequency at which we're operating and thinking and yeah,
What would you do if, let's go back to what you're working on now in building these great relationships, which I know a lot of these agents, because you and I know a lot of them, are probably watching you today here on the show. How do you keep your focus and intentionality around making that happen? And how do you monitor? Because relationships develop on their own, right? It's very difficult. As much as I would have loved to, I could not say, John Taylor from Duran's going to be my husband and then force that relationship to happen. That evil lady from Juicy Couture stole him from me, right? So with relationships, they have to develop, it's a dance, right? And there's two partners in the dance. So you have this focus on bringing contribution and relationship and confidence with producing agents all around the country, and you've built this beautiful network, a real alliance of incredible agent talent. How do you monitor, is it progressing? Are you being successful? Is it tell me a little bit more about how all of that works together.
I think it would be very easy to see, as we just discussed, to focus on the negative side of it. Like, I'm not calling 5 of my luxury pro colleagues every week, and I'm not doing large events at the national conferences, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this. But what I am doing is the agents that I already feel connected to and with, or maybe I'm not that connected, but I've been impressed with what they've had to say when I've spoken with them, or I've heard them on a panel and had a brief moment over coffee with them, or
Right.
it's someone I know more than just on paper. Like I've actually met them face to face somehow, some way. I've heard what they've had to say. I find them authentic, genuine, in alignment with my principles, ethics. It's sort of the chicken or the egg. I think my network came first, and then I'm able to work these people that I know because I consider them real friends into my conversations with clients, people who aren't my clients who are talking about having real estate that they need to discuss in another area.
Mhm.
Maybe I've met them in an airport or
Right.
at an event in Wellington, and they work with one of my other agent friends in Wellington, and they're not my client, but they're telling me about a property they need to do something with in Hawaii, and a face comes into my head right away with who I'm going to talk about because it's not always the same agent in each area. I'm actually
Right,
trying to
or for the same
personality
client.
match. Right.
That's right, yes.
So now I'm able to say, I know the perfect person for you. It's not, oh, let me find someone in that area for you.
That's
It's,
right.
I know. And I can talk to their skill set and their personalities on a very real and personal level. So it's a very warm handoff. And usually the person that I'm speaking to wants their information because I've spoken so authentically about my love for that person or what they can do or how helpful they could be or how well they know their area.
Right. So good. So it's getting to actually know them as professionals and individuals. So you're keeping the focus in this smaller, I call it alliance group that you've created of getting to know them so that when you give that referral, it's far more significant than just pulling up someone who happens to be the top salesperson in that area because
Right.
that's not always the right match. Sometimes it is the right match, but sometimes it's not.
Right, because how often have we all called a team leader in a market
Yes.
center, and thank God for team leaders, and they give us, like you said, the top agent or the person they think is going to be best for that address, and
Right.
you have a conversation with the agent and you realize it's not a personality fit for your client or for
Right.
your team maybe,
Yes.
um, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, we're pulling papers out of a straw hat kinda thing
Right.
versus, like I said, having that relationship. So the chances are the realtors that you're connecting with are probably more like you, or you already know you're kind of in alignment, which means the clients who are in alignment with you are going to resonate. They're going to resonate with each other, higher
Right.
percentage chance. And I've always said I know we're all in sales, but I'm not a salesman. I really can't sell something that I'm not excited and passionate about.
Mhm.
Um, so I never really felt like, oh, let me have someone from that area call you was really going to go far. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to meet my friend Susie Kopp in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, like, there's no one
Yes.
else for you. Or, oh, Lexington. Like, wait, you can't do anything in Lexington without Malia.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's just it's a whole different conversation. And not like I said, not something I've to put a lot of systems around. I'm just making it something I focus on and work into conversations with people.
So you know what you might really love that one of my clients has created is she got a map of the United States and the east and west coast of Canada, right?
Mhm.
And she now has put a little pin with a tag with a name, and her goal is she wants at least one key relationship in all the states. And of course, in the biggies, she wants,
The
5 in
cities.
Texas, covering the regions, and 4 in California, so that turned it a little bit into a visual reminder of the importance of those relationships, and it keeps her motivated to make sure she's making the calls and engaging and, having, because you know what can happen, Jennifer? I don't know if this happens for you ever. When you really like people and you start talking to them, it becomes very easy to talk to them all the time. So some people build their network and they get around, I don't know, somewhere between 14 and 20 in it. And that feels really good and very manageable. And they kind of stay in there. And then all of
Mm,
a sudden it's someone's like, I need someone in Rhode Island. And you're like, I hadn't thought about
shoot.
Rhode Island. Yeah, it's
Right.
right. It's just something for you to play around with to do.
Well, have
That
you been
visual is a fun thing.
I feel like you've been in my Amazon cart
My goodness.
because, we have been looking at maps because we want 2 maps on our wall in our office, and it's
Nice.
US. Yes, we were going to just do a world map, but the US is too small on the world map, so we're doing a US map and a world map because we do
Nice.
have some partners in other countries,
Yes, you do.
but the US map needs to be bigger, like
It
you
does.
said, so you can
Yeah,
get
so
the
we can
areas
get
of
you can
the
really dig in there. I wanna jump to okay, so that's all awesome. When you think about it's just the beginning of August, we have a great big chunk of year left. What is your next area that you're going to focus on? Have you thought of and I personal or work, I have no limitations on you. What do you plan on focusing on in the rest of 2025 because you want it to expand in your life?
I'm going to continue working on my agent referral network and do more of the things that I just said I wasn't doing. Like systematically add the 5 calls per week to my referral partners, working on a potential event for a luxury symposium.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And then I would like to do the Luxury Pro Speaker Series in November, which is in the Woodlands, Texas. We have a
Mhm,
lot of our business is Texas. I'm originally
mhm.
from Texas. I We have some very great partners in Texas. And there is a horse show that a bunch of my equestrian friends will be competing in Katy at that same time.
Nice.
And it's right before Thanksgiving, so then I can pop over to El Paso and see my parents.
Excellent. Anything else that you want to focus on?
Well, we are gearing up for our annual National Pediatric Cancer Foundation event in January.
Great.
So I know
Okay.
that's 2026, but that's really right now because
Yes.
that is the second week of January, second or third Sunday of January,
I do
Monday.
believe that next year I want to crash that party.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyone is welcome to crash. Please come crash
Yes.
the party.
Absolutely.
So,
And you know what? I
yeah,
will put contact information about that event. What a great cause. And it's such a great event. I was sorry to miss it this past year, but I'll put all that information in the description as well. So anyone who's interested in an amazing National Pediatric Cancer Foundation gala and fundraiser, big fundraiser, you can reach out. Good.
I
So you're
would
going to
love
start
that.
working on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we start working on that as soon as I get back from this trip. And third home, actually, because now I'm sitting in my first
Nice.
third home vacation home and I've experienced it. And it is something that I do work into a lot of my conversations with our clients. And back to, I'm much better at selling something that I 100%
Yes.
have experienced and believe in. And I have.
Yes.
And I think I can really speak to these experiences at a high level now. And I think it's a great opportunity for so many of our existing clients.
Excellent. All right. So this is you've got a lot lined up.
A lot lined up.
If anyone's listening to the 2 of us and they're like, well, I think if they thought this was hocus pocus, they would have bailed long ago. But if someone's out there listening and they're like, I just don't believe this, more of what happens in life is circumstance or luck or coincidence, what words would you give someone who does not believe in the power of what you focus on expands?
It's a real, these aren't words of any kind of wisdom or advice, but I think we all can agree. I think we can all agree that if there is a car we like or a bag that we like and it's in our head, how many more times a day do you start noticing that car on the road or someone
That's
walking
right.
by you with that bag? So I think it's very simple to say, oh, yeah, that always happens. Well, how is that different from thinking, I want to focus on increasing my buyer group by 25%.
Right.
I want three more buyers this quarter. Where are they coming from? Who do I need to talk to? What events do I need to attend?
Right.
You start thinking, not chasing, just
Right.
being strategic,
Who do
putting
I need to
yourself.
be? How do I need to
Mhm,
show up?
yep,
You mentioned communication. How do I need to communicate? Can I enhance my soft skills? And, just when you add that focus in, you're right. It's far more likely to happen. In fact, when people tell me they're lucky, I'm like, no, you made the decisions to show up where you are, how you are, and it allowed you to see opportunity. And opportunity was put in front of you. You weren't, yeah, so it's like a combination of many factors, and you have way more control over that than you believe.
yes. And I think something that goes hand in hand with what we focus on expands, and I really love that book, and I mentioned it earlier, is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
And it's a really good listen because he narrates it, so it's in his voice, in his
Mhm.
thoughts, and I think because you just said it a moment ago, recognizing the opportunities and taking
Yes.
them or jumping in and grabbing hold, whatever it is you need to do, it's recognizing and going and then creating
Well,
more.
I would say that your inner self-talk is a great first place to start if somebody is wondering where could they even start if they wanted to play around with this law and how it shows up in their life with this
Right.
effect.
Yeah.
That would be a really good place. And then the second great place is any relationship in your inner circle that feels like the energy is low or the frequency is off or you're unsatisfied with the current state. Start there. Because a lot of times people find themselves in a trap of, and by the way, this is hilarious for the people listening because I believe you and I are both single at the moment. But I am going to say when you're in a relationship, it's very easy to fall in a trap of once you are sort of dissatisfied, guess what you focus on all the time?
Yes.
Every little thing.
Yes.
Every little thing that's wrong to because your subconscious is trying to justify your theory that the other person is wrongdoing or bad or not good enough or not what I thought or whatever the thought is. So I do
Mhm.
think those are two places where people could start literally today. And if you just said to yourself with that one relationship that with yourself or with somebody else, for the next 30 days, you're literally going to focus on the good things about them and the good things about the relationship and really challenge yourself to it. You and I know a technique that we learned from Bold training. If you put on a silicone bracelet,
Mhm.
you can either snap it on your wrist every time you do what you're trying to break or swap wrists, so you have a
Mm.
physical action
Mhm.
and then stop yourself. I think that's a great place to play around with this law, and
I
it can
like
lead
that.
to surprising results and or clarity. Because guess what? The law works. It doesn't mean that it is always a perfect outcome that, you might have in mind.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm writing
So
that little note.
when I think about Jen, I didn't mention at the beginning because I was so excited to talk about the power of real estate. You are co-owner, co-rainmaker, co, you know, with Betsy Kaiser of Drahan-Keiser Group in beautiful Wellington. Don't tell my other Florida clients or my Florida relatives, but it's my favorite town in Florida now. But you guys focus on giving amazing, really custom level service to all of your clients, regardless of what their real estate needs are. How does the what you focus on expands? How does that apply? And I know about the agent network, but just in working with your clients and the great way you highlight your luxury properties, like how does it impact that part of your business?
Okay. Wait, how does what impact that part of our business? Our experience, like focusing and producing the experience that we do for our
Yeah,
clients.
yeah,
Well, I'm always trying to improve our buyer experience or our seller experience. So we continue to add layers. Something I think our team does really well is what I would call light staging and photo shoot prep and photo shoot
Mhm.
day. I think we always do the best photo package that we can or that the property warrants, and we take several days or several visits slash
Right.
sessions to help the sellers be ready for that day and not be caught off guard and be prepared for the onslaught and being out of their house all day with the animals.
Right.
Yeah, so that involves all white bedding and big Eurosham pillows, maybe some floor and table lamps, always some plants, fresh flowers,
Right.
and the poor homeowners, if it's sellers, they usually get kind of a laundry list, like pull the old peeling film off your windows or, you know,
Right.
pressure as simple as pressure washing your driveway or let's rearrange the furniture. I mean, we just rearranged someone's entire house last week.
Mhm.
Um, Sending a cleaning crew, sending painters, like really preparing and not just throwing a house on the market. And it's really hard to do because usually, and this is I'm still learning, always learning. So many times, it seems the majority of the time when sellers call you, they really needed to have called you like 60 days prior. And
Correct.
they're calling you now and they want to be on the
Yes.
market that weekend.
Yes.
And I mean, maybe they're not hoarders, but they're empty nesters and all their school age kids stuff is still in their bedrooms and closets and the house is full to the gills and there's a laundry list of things that need to be done before you get photos. So something we struggle with in our team is, do you put that on as coming soon with just an exterior photo? Or do you not let anyone know about it until it's absolutely ready? Because our experience is when you do the coming soon and it's not ready, someone always wants to see it. And
Yep.
they never end up buying it because
No.
it's not ready to see. And they don't buy it. That never works.
Am I allowed a vote?
Yeah.
Can I give a vote with my 27 years of real estate experience? Don't do the coming soon. In today's market, right? So, not to get too like real estate heavy, but in the peak madness that was the COVID market, heck yes. I don't care if it was a hoarder house coming soon. You want to see it today? Great. You get in today's market, in the vast majority of markets in the country, I would recommend that you wait until it is
Hmm.
showtime. And
Yeah.
that coming soon, you still do, by the way, in markets where people do coming soons, I'd still do a coming soon to build up some of the anticipation and the feeling that the buyers would give like, ooh, I'm getting in early. Like you want that
Right.
premiere, you want the premiere effect. And
Hmm.
then I would also caution against preemptive offers. If you take a preemptive offer before it hits real live market, it dang well better be mind boggling
Hmm.
the offer. Otherwise, I think, be judicious about that and then get on the market. But I
Yeah.
think the days of, yeah, we'll put it on coming soon while you get it together, I
No.
think it's a disservice.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. So being a strong enough person, agent, professional to tell a seller, communicator, guide, consultant to let the seller know, the seller that wants to get on the market, like right now, can't we just take a few photos and do the rest later?
Right.
To really stand your ground in a professional way and be able
Yes.
to take them through the journey of why that's not in their best interest.
A great analogy I love to use for that is, and this did happen when I lived in Maryland. Solomon's Island, Maryland, has a huge 4th of July celebration right on the river. So we're all there, just, tens of thousands of people all over the banks of both sides. And they start the fireworks show. And guess what? Dud, dud, dud. Then an announcement over the PA like, technical difficulties. We need a few minutes. Then they're playing some patriotic music over the speakers and duds. And guess what? I don't remember a thing about the firework show itself. I remember that, right? So if you go coming soon
Hmm.
and your house has the potential to be a firework and you put it out when it's a dud,
Hmm.
guess what people are going to remember? the dud. They're not gonna remember the later.
Agree. Agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Well,
And
I
then
just no, keep going.
just on the buyer side, things that we do to try to elevate that experience. We're in a secondary, tertiary home market. A lot of our clients don't live there full time. That means when we're working with buyers, a lot of times they're flying in or we're doing FaceTime showings.
Right.
If they're flying in, I have my car stocked with a Yeti cooler with snacks and both kinds of water, flat and sparkling, and, healthy things, nuts, oranges, just so that we don't have so that they're not saying, "Can we stop somewhere so I can get some water?"
Right.
No, because
Yes.
if someone's flying in, there's a good chance we're in the car for 4 hours straight.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Yeah, when
real.
they want to get to town and select, yes.
And then, on the FaceTime things, thinking ahead, not waiting until you get to a property and realizing you don't have phone service, make sure you prearrange to get on a seller's Wi-Fi, get there a little bit early, make sure your stuff is working. They're
Right.
probably stepping out of a meeting to do a FaceTime call with you for 8 minutes.
Right, right. So just making
So
sure that everything is situated.
mhm,
Yeah. I think an area that I'm going to focus on the remainder of this year is really focusing on how do I show up as a leader? And um I don't even know where I'm taking it yet. I actually started thinking about this when I was preparing for our meeting. And I was thinking, well, what do I want to focus in on and what do I want to see expand in the remainder of this year? And that's something that I decided I'm going to focus on. So I plan on legal pad, Dave Brubeck on, cup of coffee, and just start brainstorming, ask that question. Who am I showing up as a leader? And then free write about that as a place to start to even
mhm,
know where to expand my focus.
mhm. There's one particular referral agent who is not a Keller Williams agent. This is an agent I work with. They're a Palm Beach Island specialist,
Yes.
and the Drahan-Keiser team specializes in Wellington and West Palm Beach. There are 3 bridges from West Palm Beach that take you to the island of Palm Beach, and the island has their own realtors board, MLS. It's a very
Right.
specific niche. We love our referral partner on the island, and one of the things I am working on is to get her out to Wellington. I met her through one of my best friends, and she are good friends. So I would like to strengthen that relationship a little bit because we have direct business all the time going back and forth between
Right.
Wellington and Palm Beach. And I think if I could help her focus on that a little bit, it would grow both our businesses.
That's great. Well, good. This has been fantastic. I know that you and I could talk about this at length, and we can wrap up here. And I want to thank you so much for being our guest. Again, all your contact information is in the description. Drahan Kaiser and Jen Drahan in beautiful West Palm Beach and Wellington. Thank you so much for being our guest today. I hope you'll come back again. Can you come
Absolutely. I
back in
would
the
love it.
fall?
I would love
All
to.
right. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much. And thank you all. I hope you'll come to the next episode of The Inner Estate. Have a great day.
Thank you.